dark person. The dark person, these human beings, are the reflection of that dark person. These are the ones that created the unbalancedness here. And when you look at them, they're all smiling and they're holding hands. And they're smiling because they're having fun at other people's expense. You know what that means? You understand? These are the ones that cause the unbalancedness, what is happening throughout humanity. Our ancestors, they continued to follow Creator's law, the covenant, and then there was peace for a while until, boom, this happened again. World War II. Different human beings, but the same mentality, because they were only guided by their minds, their ego, their pride, their greed, the corruption. Now, we are here at this precipice here, where you see this line, it connects both paths, the Hopi and the Hopi way of life. Here, can you see? Here you see a half circle here. This half circle here is the hope for humanity. Or no, this half circle here is a representation, a symbol of, if we don't come together, if we continue to make the same mistakes, it will become a full circle and it will become World War III, where we will completely destroy ourselves. But this space right here is the hope for humanity to wake up. And here, this line is a symbol of that also. Even though there was many mistakes that happened to our ancestors that fell into the darkness, we should have learned from them, but we didn't, because we still have human beings doing the same things. And this line tells us that even though you have made mistakes in your life, if you find the compassion to forgive yourself, you will be allowed to come back down and get back on the right path. I can identify myself with this because I'm a recovering alcoholic of almost 20 years now. And I made many mistakes due to my alcoholism, and some of it without it also. But I found the compassion to forgive myself, so I can say I'm somewhere in this area. And my life has pretty much changed and transformed pretty amazingly. A good example is my brother here, Adam. He's also got his story also, his experience. Now, you can live this life, you can live a good life, a spiritual life, but you can easily be influenced into this life also. And it's usually money that corrupts us just like that because of greed. And we see this happen also, unfortunately. So it's a two-way path. But the key is we can change. But we must have the compassion to forgive ourselves first, so that we can be forgiven, and then we can forgive others, and we can get back on the right path, which is the Hopi way of life, which is simply available for all of humanity. It's very beneficial in every aspect of our lives. So here, we still have time. Every time I take the people there, and even today, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, because time is moving so fast. Time is not going to wait for us, right? We have to change, because time is of the essence now. Because we do not want this to become a full circle. Remember, it only took a few people, a handful of people, to come out from the darkness. Even though that one person from the darkness came, it only took a few. In Hopi, my grandfather would say, "By suk lonmat penangwat takat ak itam hapimung wastutin, bu itam amom tuten itam tatam tukal putin." Meaning, it only takes one person with a good heart, a clear mind, that we can benefit from. But when we join, become stronger, you know. So I use this on my travels, and when people come to our homeland, I take them there and I say, you have to help me. I need your help to share this message, you know. It doesn't really matter how many people it takes. You know, we're only a few. It's okay, you know. With that few, it is possible that we can achieve balance, harmony, unity, and peace once again, you know. That's what Hopi is the meaning of, you know. Many people say, oh, we're peaceful people, you know. Unfortunately, honestly, we are not that people today, you know. We are very divided at home, you know. We have a lot of animosity against one another. There really is no compassion. I live there, so I know, you know. But through my own through my own darkness, I am a better person. And now I stand up to my elders, you know, and tell them, you taught me about respect, you know, so I'm only reminding you of the respect that you taught me. And this happened in 2009, and we were part of this gathering, you know, and they got very angry. So honestly speaking, I'm not a well-liked person at home by my own people, you know, but it's okay because I know and what I've experienced that I had transformed my life from the darkness, you know, and I want us to come back into balance, in harmony. So there is this corruption at home. It's a spiritual corruption.
What is it? Would you tell them?
Remember, the story I'm telling you, there's teachings in everything. So the ancestors, when they came upon here, they asked him to be the chief. And he said, no. You know. He said, why not? Because I know what you're going to do. Maybe somewhere in life, when you remember the covenant that you agreed with me, maybe then I will lead, for I am the first, but I'm also the last. So what happened over 20 years ago was there was a coup, a conspiracy to take the chief position away by force, you know. And when that happened, it really divided our people apart, you know. They did not listen. So Masa knew exactly what was going to happen. You know? And when this happened, there was a huge division that happened. You know, in our village that we live at, it's called Sungopalu, and it's the mother village, you know. Not anyone talks of this. But since you ask, and I am an honest person, this is what it come to, you know. But I have to also remember when I look back, I was also a dishonest person. You know? But from that, it taught me to be a better person and speak of truth. And even being here, I already got criticized. Oh, what are you sharing our prophecy to the white people? You know, I laughed and I said, it's not just about it's not the prophecy, it's the teaching. You know, well, it's sacred. Yes, I know it's sacred. You know, but it's also beneficial. It's how you use our teachings to benefit others. And besides, our philosophy is for all of humanity, for all beings that have life, you know. So I'm simply following our philosophy, you know, and speaking of truth. And when somebody asks, I will do my best to explain, you know. So this spiritual corruption of taking the leadership by force from one that was rightfully ordained. And now other things have happened, you know. I'm not going to go into that part of it, but you know, this is what happened, and we've been divided for almost 30 years now. You know, there has honestly been no unity yet. So we still continue to practice our ceremonies, our culture, but it has really no strength, no spiritual strength because of this division. You know, our songs, the dances is supposed to be about unity, you know. So we're only saying it, but our actions prove otherwise. When we finish with this, we go back to our own dysfunctional lives, you know. And I was once part of this, and I'm still part of it, but now since I had my own awakening, I'm strong enough and able to speak of truth to the elders that taught me this, you know. So those same elders that taught me this once supported me. But then I found out they were the ones who were the darkness, you know. So be it, you know.
So
I have to
they
continue
did overthrow
forward,
the
yeah.
one person. They did
Yeah.
overthrow him. Now they're in charge.
Yeah. So what I've been telling these elders was, you speak of respect. Yes, I understand. And I'm grateful that you taught me this. But you must find that compassion within yourself to forgive yourself for what you've done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, then we will unfortunately destroy ourselves, you know. I said, well, the others did wrong. I said, you know, everybody's wrong if we don't come together, you know. So we have to come together. We have to put our petty indifferences aside. It's so petty, you know. But if we can forgive, it will bring us back together. And that's what happened to me. I had to forgive myself. And I wonder now, why is it so hard for humanity to forgive themselves? If we know if you love yourself, it should be easy, right? But it was very hard for me, you know, from being a child in an alcoholic family. I wonder, what did I do, you know? Don't my parents, my mother love me, you know? Then I grew up with this pain. But I was fortunate that I went to rehab in '96, where I had to look deep within myself. Despite the alcoholism, it was what I had gone through, you know. But it was there in the sweat lodge I found my spirituality back. You know, so I have a very big gratitude towards the sweat lodge for giving myself back to me, you know. And now I'm able to speak of truth, you know, and I see what has been happening at home. And that's why he's telling us, never forget what happened to our ancestors down below. So the teaching also is, always look back to who you were on your journey in order to move forward, you know. So 2 weeks ago, I was robbed, you know. I'm a silversmith. I only have a few pieces here. And they broke into my shop and they stole almost $12,000 worth of this, all these necklaces, and a big concho belt, you know. And it was very hard. But I was grateful that 3 Japanese women came the next day and they helped me. I took them to the prophecy rock and I went before him and I prayed and I said, please, Masa, help me. Help me to find the strength to have compassion for the person or persons that took from me, you know. And I pray that they find their true self, just as I did. You know. That was all I said. I didn't ask and pray to get my stuff back. I just said, let them find themselves. Because 20 years ago, I was that same person. And it made it a little bit more easier to forgive. You know. And I let it go. And I said, it's okay. I can continue to create. I'm not going to let this get me down, you know. And I got back up and started working, you know. It took a while to make this few, and with this few pieces here, this is what, whoever took my stuff, these 3 sheets were on my table and they didn't take it, you know. They either don't realize what it was silver, you know. It's valuable, but they didn't take it. So I was actually grateful. I said, why? Yes, sir. And I was thanking the person or people. I said, thank you for having a little compassion for me so that I can create from the sheets, you know. So it took me a while to get this, 2 weeks, you know. Usually in a week I'll create a lot because I'm always busy, you know. But I was going through this whole frame of mind, you know. And when each piece has this energy of what I experience, you know. So it's very important for me, you know. Wow. So to say, hey, it's okay. We have to forgive, you know. It's making a better person. And like I said, even though there's a few of us, that few always is where the power of strength is, you know. So remember this line. This is the precipice that we are at, so that this doesn't become a reality, you know. So please help me to share this message, you know.
So do you think the current elders should reinstate the former elders? Is that what you think should be done?
That would be the ideal thing, simply. But I really doubt it, you know.
What do you think should be done?
I feel that if they can only find the compassion to forgive themselves, you know, and acknowledge, yes, we did wrong. How can we come together so that our culture can become stronger again? And from there, I believe we can begin the healing. You know. My mind thinks the ideal situation like you, but knowing my people, you know, I've grown up with them. I even have the kiva with those same leaders. I have the rightful chief in there. I have the one that's now the chief, and I have 2 other chiefs in there. So there's a saying: we have too many people that want to be chiefs and a little bit Hopi. And it's okay to laugh also, you know, because laughter is also healing, you know. So when you come to Hopi, which you're more than welcome to, I will take you there so you can see for yourself, you know, and feel the energy. But you can also see some of the dances, you know. Right now, tomorrow, today they're making prayer feathers, paho. So tomorrow morning we're going to renew our life, you know. That's what the solstice is about. It's a new beginning, you know. So I pray and I say, I sure hope my people can wake up, you know. Because it took me quite a long time. I'm almost 20 years in sobriety, but then it took me a long time to get to this point, you know. So they better wake up and they better start their journey, you know, because it's not going to wait for anyone. Another teaching my grandfather said was, sure we can be compassionate for others, you know, but we cannot become stuck to them, you know, because if we try to change them, they must also change themselves. We can't change anyone. And if you try get stuck to one person, you're going to drag yourself down. So yes, we can pray for them, encourage them, that they hope they take it as an empowerment, you know, to wake themselves up. The nang dalawa, awaken your heart, you know, so that they can make this journey also. We can only do so much, but we have to continue that journey with or without them also too, you know. It's very hard, you know. The saying is tough love, you know. I have a personal experience with my younger brother, you know. I tried so many ways to encourage him, you know, and he didn't wake up, and he died, you know. So 7 years ago he died, you know. And before we were going to bury him, he was laying there on the ground, you know. I was looking at myself, and I said one simple thing to him. I said, now you are going to be more connected with our grandmother and grandfather, you know, because now you become that spiritual being again. You know. But do me one big favor, take a message to them and the ancestors to protect me, you know, and my family and your children. That's all I said. And my son came up to me the next day, my oldest son, he cried and he said, it was like I was looking at you, Dad. He said, yes, I know. I saw myself in him here. He's no longer here physically, but spiritually, he's with each and every one of us, you know. Anyone that has had a loss in their family knows the same thing I'm talking about. So all of these, you know, have meanings in them. You know. The thing that happened about the chief position taken away, it's told in the Kachina ceremonies when there's clowns. The clown's role is to do everything that you're not supposed to do by doing it. The same thing as the darkness, you know. And the clown comes, and first thing he says, no, Mongwei, you know, I'm chief. You know. And then the next one, no, Mongwei, you know, no, I'm the chief. Everyone wants to be chief. All the clowns wants to be chief, you know. And the people laugh at them, you know. But they don't realize they should be looking upon themselves, you know. We're really laughing at our own actions, you know. But we should see this mirror, this reflection, and wake up, you know. And there's other kachinas that come. So the kachinas are all dancing in balance, in harmony. The first one is usually the youngest one, the smallest one. And then towards the middle is the one that starts the dance, the kakuina. And then all the way to the end is another young one, So right when the center starts it, the first one turns around and it all resonates, goes to the last, and then the next verse, the last one becomes the first, and then it comes back. So this goes to that saying, I am the first, but I'm also the last. But in the center, this is where you find the balance and harmony. So the katinas are all dancing in balance, in harmony. And now here comes the clown and it's disrupting the whole ceremony, And people are laughing and it's almost chaotic, But then there's these other beings or katinas that come to them. I'm trying to find one. And these other katinas, like this one, he will come. And he's a guardian, he's a protector, He will come, and if the clowns are getting so out of hand, he will whip them with these yakashas, It's considered a blessing, It's not a punishment, but it's to awaken their hearts, So when he whips them or you, it's a healing, If you look at it positively, you can consider it a blessing also too, So these katinas we call piftukas. Piftu is to come to you, but it's really your conscience coming to you. So when they come to the clowns, they have these willows, and they go up to them and say, "Coo, coo, coo, Omahisa, how are you going?" Meaning, wake up, you're barely alive, And they're trying to awaken their heart. And the clown is like, this shrugs them away, pushes them away. But then there's an owl kachina that comes. And the owl is a messenger of death for us, So we're very superstitious. We're very afraid of the owl, But the owl comes and looks for the chief clown, throws the stones at him, the rocks. Help me, Tatuba, who's hitting me, And just like walks away, and finally the owl will get his attention and they'll sit him down. And this is all done right in the plaza, where the people are watching. And he tells the clown, he goes, "We've been watching you. We see you're living your life out of balance. If you don't wake up, we will come and destroy you." And the chief clown will say, just give us time. We'll wake up, I'm sure we'll wake up eventually, Just give us time. And the owl will say, "Well, we'll give you a little bit of time." Okay, quiet, we'll wake up, But they don't listen. They continue and even get worse. So 3 times, on the 3rd time, the owl will say, "We see you have not even made a difference in changing your life for the betterment. We will definitely come and destroy you." The clown begs and pleads, and we'll wake up. You just give us a little bit more time. And your time has run out. Now, on the 4th time, the owl comes and says, "We have no choice but to destroy you. You have not even made any effort to change your life. You've even become worse, Please, the clown is begging, not only for the clown's life, but on behalf of humanity. So he goes into his pouch where he has his cornmeal, and he picks out a turquoise, a beautiful turquoise like this necklace. And he tries to bribe the owl. He goes, "Please accept this gift, so that you will be more compassionate toward us." The owl takes the beautiful turquoise necklace and says, "We'll destroy you anyway." And then they will all come into the plaza, and they'll block out the entrances to the plaza, and they come all in with such a force that the clowns are still doing something, and then at the last minute they see them and they try to run, but they capture all of them, and then they tie their legs together with the strings that they are wrapped around. They throw all their shoes out, their clothes, sometimes they even strip them naked, and then they'll lay them down, and with those willows like this plant, they coo, 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 So what they're doing is they're giving them a spiritual spanking for the sins that they have committed, Then the people will get water in their buckets, and then they'll pour water on them. So they're purifying them, cleansing them of their actions that they have sinned, And then they go to the people, and then they pour a little bit on the people also too, because the clown represents humanity. And we all have sinned in some ways, So their role is to wake us up, awaken our hearts, and become who we're meant to be. And when this is done, then the clown no longer is a clown, has become a human being again. And everything is peaceful right towards the end of the ceremony. It's beautiful when you understand and see the ceremony, what is happening. Honestly speaking, I knew of this as a young boy, but I didn't really get the deep feeling of it until I began my sobriety, and I was watching and I felt the power of it, And I was a clown one time myself also. But that's another story. So all of these are teachings. We have them. Why do we don't take them seriously? We just take them for granted, And this is the honest truth. If anyone else tells you differently, they're lying. This happens throughout the villages, So remember to help me, because we're doing it for all of humanity, So we can go through this. It won't take everyone to do this, just a few that are connected from the heart and mind. So we'll bypass this, and here, this is a carving into the stone of the planting stick, but there's a little ear of corn here, a corn leaf here. So this represents taking care of Mother Earth. When you plant the seed, you nurture it so it can come to fruition, so we can reap the benefits from it, And when we get old, you see an elder here. He has a little cane here. It's a long life, a healthy life, a happy life, a Hopi life, And when we die physically, whenever our time is up, our spirit, our soul will travel to the ancestors and back again, So here, this line, it actually goes all the way around towards the back of the rock, It's an everlasting life, And what I also learned from this is that, when we're born, like I talked about the bird, we are the most purest spiritual beings when we are born, until we start to grow. This is when we start having human experiences, So we're strong, but then as we get old, we go back. And here on Hopi, when we die physically, our people bury us in the fetal position, because we're going back to Mother Earth, going back into the womb. So remember that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience.
So right here where the feather is, what is that?
Okay, like earlier I said, many people come from all over the world to see the prophecy rock, So a lot of people put offerings here. So I can say that somebody put an offering of a feather here, a plume, Sometimes they put it into the cracks here, or underneath, About three months ago, I brought a group of Japanese, maybe about 8 people, and they were asking to do a ceremony there. And I was like kind of reluctant to have them do a ceremony there. And said, "What is the ceremony about?" "Well, it's about time, I said, time, what time, Well, it's going back to the shift of what this was, when this was made, how the future is going to be. So we're doing this little ceremony to give back balance in time, I'm like, okay, it kind of goes along with the teaching, you know. So I said, okay, you're welcome to do it, but remember, this place is visited highly every day, you know. So if somebody comes, you know, we have to allow them to their time. But we were fortunate that nobody came, you know. So they all sat there, and they drawn out this map that had the universe there, and they all had a dice that each one of them had to roll 10 times, and they built a little fire here, and it was pretty interesting, you know. I was just sitting back watching, and they would roll the dice, and then with a little stick they would mark into the chart. It was a chart, you know, astrological chart. And then when they finished, they rolled this up, and the person asked, "Can we bury this underneath the gap there?" I'm like, "Go ahead." It's a prayer, you know. So we all prayed to it, and she went way underneath, you know, being there. Sometimes she went way in there and she buried it. And I'm like, your prayers are strong, you know. And the reason why the people from the outside, their prayers are much stronger is you come with the most sincerest energy. Since you don't really know us personally, who we are on Hopi, you know, you don't have no differences against us, you know, no petty differences, you know. So your prayers are very strong. And when you come upon the sacred rock here, I always ask the people to pray first, to be in the spirit, in the sacred place, to ask permission. That's what needs to be done, you know. Even here, you know, when you go somewhere, you always have to ask Spirit, can I be in your presence, you know? Please allow me to. And when you do this sincerely, Spirit will bless you in every aspect of your life, you know. So that's what I do when I go. I always offer everyone cornmeal to pray first, to ask for permission. So this is what happened here, and that's one of the offerings that you see here visibly, you know. Oh, yes, Ako-san. Yes, please.
Can you tell us about Pahana, the prophecy of like the return of the Great White Brother, and if that's connected to the blue star, the blue Kachina?
Okay, let me finish up real quick here. So I was almost done, yeah. So as I said, you know, this is what we prayed for, and following the guidance of the covenant we made with the caretaker to leave this Hopi way of life. And when we die physically, our spirit, our soul will travel back to the ancestors and back again, you know. Now, here, the top path, if you don't find the compassion to forgive yourself, if you continue to live this way of life, and unfortunately many people do, you know, because they get so much ingrained in their own mindset of their ego and pride that they will not find that compassion to forgive, and when they don't, their life will be chaotic and jagged. And when they die physically, their spirit and their soul will be lost forever. It will never travel, you know. And that's a very hard, you know, way for their spirit to be, you know. But they do have the opportunity to change their life, you know. Like I said, we can't change anyone, right? But we can pray for them that they can find themselves. But they must have the compassion to forgive themselves also too. So this represents this part, you know, the mindset, you know. And remember, when we do this, our spirit, our soul will travel back to the ancestors and back again. And remember that we are all in one with the universe and everything, you know. In Hopi, it represents sumi, oneness with everything. Very simple. You know. One big circle. Very simple. But it encompasses everything. Payasa. You know, this is the story, the message of the prophecy rock.
How did the rock come into being? The creator, or?
Well, the rock I know was there by creation,
Yes.
but I get asked quite a few times, who was the one that created this? Who carved into it? Martin was one of my teachers from Hopi that shared his perspective on it. And he said, well, I was told the Mennonites did this. And I laughed. And then he goes, what are you laughing at? Because it's absurd, you know. He goes, well, that's what I was told, you know. And then I remember in O'Reilly, the Mennonites were the first denomination that came on to, well, after the second, I think, because the Spanish were the first that came in the late 1500s. So the Mennonites came in the late 1800s, and they had a high influence of the village of O'Reilly. You know, I'm from Samupa, the second Mesa. O'Reilly is third Mesa. You know, so when the Mennonites came, they had a high influence, and they influenced the chief, the Wakwaktiwa, to get into their church also too. And then when the United States government came, that also influenced the Wakwaktiwa to follow that progressive way of life, you know, in the modern way. And his younger brother, Yukilma, was very strong in following the true Hopi way of life. So they had a challenge. And the Wakwaktiwa said, the people need to choose whoever side you wanna, if you wanna follow the progressive way of life, or you wanna continue to follow the Hopi way of life. Those that choose to follow my younger brother, you must leave the village, you know. So unfortunately, those that wanted to continue to live the Hopi way of life were forced to leave, and the ones that stayed followed the modern way of life and got influence into the Mennonites, you know. So if the Mennonites really did carve into this to make it a little bit more understanding, is that if someone from the people had told the teachings, I'm pretty sure one of the Mennonites came and did this, you know. That's just speculation. Yes, it. So I can't say if it's true or not, but that's what Martin said. The Mennonites did it, and I'm like, probably could be true. And then another question is, how old is it, you know? But honestly speaking, I say it's not about who made it. It's not about how and when it was made, you know. The real important is that you take this message not into your heart, into your mind, but you actually put it to action, you know, because that's where the power is in the teaching, that we can find ourselves to become Hopi again, you know. And remember, with this little blue corn, Masa said, with that little blue corn, you are given the life of Hopi. He didn't say the name, you know. But we unfortunately got spiritually arrogant, so we took the name upon ourselves, you know. We're supposed to leave it to achieve it. The same meaning in Buddhism as reaching enlightenment, you know. That's what Hopi means, you know, the enlightened being. So, honestly speaking, I'm not a Hopi yet, you know. I'm as Hopi as I can be, you know. Maybe someday I hope to become Hopi, you know. But if not, I'm gonna do my best to be Hopi, you know. And Hopi is available for all of humanity, you know. That's our philosophy, you know. So those that criticize me, they need to remember our philosophy of why we do this. As I'm speaking to you,